Hi everyone, Dave from DailyTechTV here, and I've got a photography related question in this Q&A, and it comes via email from Matt. What should you spend the most money on? Camera body or lenses? That is a really good question. Now when you're selecting a DSLR, for example, you might go for something like a Canon 600D or a Canon 60D as a starting point, and that's a fair amount to spend on a camera body. And with that, you can opt to have a kit lens. Now, the kit lens is absolutely fine. It performs extremely well. What you will find is that if you really get into your photography, you'll want to select a lens that matches the type of photography you're doing. So maybe if you're doing street photography, you might opt for a 35mm or 50mm lens. If you're doing portrait photography, you might opt for an 85mm lens. If you're doing general sort of walk around photography, you might opt for a new zoom lens. And when you're selecting this, it's a good idea to spend, I was going to say as much as you can, but spend a decent amount of money on the lens. And the reason for this is if you're buying into a system, so if you're happy with your Canon and you're going to stay with Canon, it's a good idea to buy a very good lens that resolves a lot of detail with good glass in it, so that if you ever do change your camera body, then you've got some good lens to put on that straight away. I hope that makes sense. There's also another reason as well, and if you're moving further up the scale in DSLRs, you might find that you've got a sensor with a very high megapixel count, and if you bought, for example, a Canon 5D Mark II or the new 5D Mark III, or even a 7D, which is the sort of mid-range prosumer body, and then you just stick a cheap kit lens on it, that kit lens is not going to resolve enough detail for the sensor in the camera. So you're going to be putting cheap glass on an expensive camera body with a very good sensor. So you need a lens that will resolve enough detail. With these new cameras, especially the Nikon D800 with its 36.3 megapixel sensor, some people are saying that lenses won't resolve enough detail to take advantage of the sensor. So the sort of pros and cons have been switched around on that one. So in answer to your question, I would buy a camera body with a kit lens to start off with until you find out what sort of photography you're going to be doing. And then if you're really, really happy with that brand of camera, then invest in a good lens. And I would say that you can equally spend the same amount on a lens as you have on the camera body. So maybe keep the cost about the same, but it's such a wide open question. It really depends what sort of photography you're doing. I'll use myself as an example here. I've got a Canon 60D. I think the body on a 60D is about £600, £700, around that sort of mark. And I've got a 24-105 L lens, which again is about £600 to £700. Now, that sounds like a lot on a lens, but if I ever do change that Canon 60D to a Canon 5D Mark III, which I hope I will be able to afford one day, then I've got a decent lens that will resolve enough detail for that Canon 5D Mark III. So great question. It's open to discussion to you guys and girls now. Leave me some comments below and let me know what you're shooting with. What camera do you use? What lenses have you got? Do you think you should spend more on the lenses or on the body? I'm really interested to hear in the comments below. Leave me some new questions as well. Please do subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.